Hi. Is this increase in bisexuality that we're all seeing just happening in the United States, or is it happening around the world? That is what I'll be talking about in this video, sponsored by my latest MMF bisexual romance, Rules for Spanking, and more about that at the end of the video. Until then, I'd like to talk about two studies that were released this week in the UK. One looking at sexual identity, and the other one looking at sexual orientation. First, let me describe the differences between the two. Sexual orientation has to do with who you're crushing on, who you fantasize about, and who you're hooking up with. That's sexual orientation. And there are only three: straight, gay, and bisexual. Sexual identity, however, has to do with the word that you use to describe yourself to the outside world. So, I am mostly straight, I am bisexual, other people are queer, other people are straight, other people are gay, other people are heteroflexible and pansexual, and so forth and so on. So that's the difference between the two. So the first study I'm going to talk about was conducted by the Office of National Statistics in the UK. And I'm going to talk about two studies they did. The one they released last year and the one they just released this week. The one they released last year covered the years between 2012 and 2015. During those years, the percentage of people who identified as bisexual was 0.6%. So 0.6% of the UK population identified as bisexual between the years of 2012 and 2015. The study they released a couple of days ago showed an increase. It went from 0.6% to 0.8%. So in 1 year's time, the number of people identified as bisexual went up 2%. And in real numbers, that's 130,000 people. So in 1 year, an additional 130,000 people started identifying as bisexual. That's great. That's an increase. But if you compare them to the numbers in the United States, well, in the United States, 3.5% of the population identifies bisexual. So that is a little bit different. So UK is a little bit behind the United States in that number. But that is just the people who identify as bisexual, and that number could be low because of a couple of things. First of all, the American number I'm comparing them to was conducted by a group called the Center for Disease Control. And their whole thing is getting people to admit to things that they would not normally talk about, like, their sexual orientation and like sexually transmitted diseases and stuff like that. So they are specifically trained to be sensitive to get, questions answered in a more honest way. And a bureau called the Office of National Statistics might not be up to the same level of sensitivity as the CDC is. So you might not get as honest as answers as you might from the office of the CDC. And also, UK people are infamous for not being completely forthcoming with their emotions. That is the joke amongst British people, that they don't express their emotions. So it doesn't surprise me again that, less people would be willing to identify themselves as bisexual in the UK. Now, does that mean that there are that few bisexuals in the United States, or does that just mean that that's the number of people who are identifying as bisexual? Well, I got to answer that question because the second study that was released this week was conducted by an independent company where they surveyed 3,000 people, and they surveyed them looking at the various generations in the UK and broke it down that way. And one of the questions they asked was about sexual orientation. So I'm going to talk about the section of the study that dealt with people 23 years old and older. That way I compare it to the American study. So just looking at people 23 and older, the number of people who said they have an equal attraction between men and women in the UK, 2%. So 2% say they have an equal attraction to men and women, which is by definition bisexual, yet only 0.8% use the identity bisexual. 2% is pretty good. 2% of the population, that's pretty good. But the question is, how many people in the United States have an equal attraction between men and women? Well, this is going to be an unfair comparison, but it's essentially 3.5%. So in the United States, there's still a significant more people who admit to having an attraction to both men and women adults. We're talking adults. Now let's take a look at the number of people who are on the bisexual spectrum in the UK. So whereas only 2 people have an equal attraction between men and women, there's a much larger number who say they are on the bisexual spectrum. That number is 12%. So only 2% equal attraction, but 12% some attraction that puts them on the bisexual spectrum. And if you compare that to the United States, well, 12% in the UK, 14% in the United States. So the numbers are closer there. And you might ask, well, what is this difference? Why is it like such a big difference between 2% and 3.5% and between 12% and 14%? There's probably a reason for that as well. In the UK, the study was conducted for people between the ages of 23 and death. In the United States, the survey was conducted between the ages of 18 and death. And as I've said on many other videos, the younger you are, the more likely you are to be comfortable with your bisexual attractions, which means the more likely you are to talk about it and to tell people on surveys about it. So those extra couple years between 18 and 22 that the American study captures, that the UK study doesn't, at least those numbers don't, could have something to do with the fact of the difference between 2% and 3.5% and 12% and 14%. But here's where it gets interesting for the UK, where it gets really, really interesting in the UK, because as I said, they broke it down by generation. So they have an entire part of the survey that's just conducted for people 22 and younger. And those numbers. Okay, let's start out with the people who are equally attracted to men and women. Whereas with people over 23 and older, it was 2%. With people 22 and younger, 9%. 9% of people 22 and younger have an equal attraction to both men and women. Now, what does that mean? That means when you look at the people who are on the bisexual spectrum who have any sort of attraction to multiple genders, that number is 26%. 26% of people under the age of 22 fall on the bisexual spectrum in the UK. That is larger than any number we have in the United States. We have a number for high school students in the United States, and that equals somewhere around 7-8% when you take male and females and put them together. 7%, whereas with people under 22, 9% is the people who have equal attractions between men and women. So the UK is even more bisexual than America is, in spite of the fact that they're significantly less likely to admit it. That is amazing. And I would like to know, since there's so many of you watching this video from outside the United States, what do you think this says about your country? Are there statistics released in your country? If there are, man, would I love to know what they are. I would love to be able to talk about more than just American statistics and kind of start bringing in statistics from around the world. So if you have any numbers to share, please share them. And also just know that if you are from the UK, or if you're just from anywhere, your future is going to be very bisexual. So that's it. Now, if you would like to support the channel, please check out my latest MMF bisexual romance. I'm very proud of it, and the reviews have been fantastic. The book is called Rules for Spanking, and it is both a sexy story, it is a compelling story, and it is a story specifically written that you will be on your toes the entire read, not knowing what is going to happen next. So please, if you'd like to support the channel, check it out. It's only 99 cents, and with it, you will get 15 other sexy bisexual romance stories. Please check it out. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, you can check out my t-shirts on Amazon. This is my most popular t-shirt. It's the best-selling bisexual t-shirt on Amazon. But I also have 19 other shirts you can check out. A link to them are in the description below. Please support the channel, and support the channel so I can go and do more bisexual stuff out there, like I talked about a couple videos ago, like the Bisexual Representation Awards, like talking at Pride festivals, like going up to P-Flag and doing the presentation there. So please support the channel. And if you'd like to support this video, you can give it a thumbs up. And also, subscribe. I do many videos on bisexual topic. I don't do them on a regular basis, but I try to do them every Sunday. But if you'd like to know when a new video comes out, you'll have to hit on that subscribe button, and then hit on that little bell. And by doing that, you'll tell YouTube that you'd like to know when a new video comes out. Until next video, stay cooler, my bisexual friend. Stay cooler. Bye. And check out Rules for Spanking. Bye.